Okay, this is for one of the subscribers and viewers, Donald. I believe his last name is Cossett. I hope I'm pronouncing these names right. If not, sorry about that. But anyhow, this is not the same boring bar that we made. That one Jeremiah already took and he's got stored in the house somewhere. So this one is very similar to it. It has a high-speed steel bit that's coming out. And basically when we're grinding the angles on this, I usually do it at a bench grinder because I got a deburr wheel on here instead of a fine wheel. I only have a coarse grit, but what you can do is you can rough it in with a coarse grit, and if you got a fine wheel, you want to touch it up on the fine wheel because the smoother your edges, your cutting edges are, the better cut you can get. So what I did, I roughed it out on this coarse reel, and then I went to the surface grinder with a finer grit wheel and trued it up there. On this, it's just demo. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to do it here on the coarse. What I did, I loosened the screw out and I moved the bit out because I want the bit sticking out as far as I can, and because this one's been used a lot, I don't have a lot left. But you stick the bit out as far as you can so that you don't end up hitting your bar as you grind. And so basically what you're going to want, let me grab a scale here a minute. You want to get the cutting angles established. Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to grind to about the halfway mark on your center drill here. You want to grind to about the halfway mark, and that will get your cutting edge lined up with the center of your bar. You can do that first. I won't do it on this case because it's already there. But what you want to do then, let's see if I can hold this right. If you're wanting to bore down and you're boring to a shoulder, you can't grind at an angle like this because you're not going to get a good shoulder. You got to grind where the relief is, and I'm exaggerating with this scale. You want to grind so that there's an angle here so that your tip is what's going to be the lowest part of the tool hitting, so if you're doing shoulder work. If you're going all the way through the hole, you can grind an angle like so, and that will actually give you a nice cut, especially in cold roll and aluminum, softer material. It'll give you a nice cut. One of the things that you want to be careful about is if you get too big of a radius on there, it causes a lot more drag on the part and it won't cut as free. But again, if you're cutting aluminum, cold roll steel, softer material, you might want a little bit larger radius because you want a little bit more of that drag on there, and it will give you a better finish in them softer materials. So basically, I'll just pull the bit out, get the grinder going, and then what we'll do is, let me line that tip up a little bit better. Tighten it back down. So I'm going to just come across here and make an angle like so, and at the same time I want to angle up this way because I have to have clearance on the back of this angle. I want my cutting edge to be on the very face. I want my cutting edge to be on this face right here. If I don't make clearance this way and I got too much material up that way, in other words, if I go in like this rather than like this, what's going to happen is the heel of this is going to be rubbing and it's not going to cut and it's just not going to work. Same thing when I come to the side. I got to grind. I got to lift it up at an angle because I want to get clearance back here. I don't want that heel cutting at all. So basically, I just come in. And I will touch like so. Get a nice edge, and again, because I got a coarse wheel on there, I'm getting a coarse finish. What I'll do next, and it's going to be hard to get a good camera view, you can do it on the side of the wheel, or you can come over, and maybe I'll get out of the way over here, because I'd rather grind on the diameter. We're going to grind this edge. And so the thing that we want with this edge, we don't want the angle so it's cutting like that because we want our tip cut, and if we do over here, the farthest edge sticking out is going to be way up here. And again, it's just not going to be an effective tool. So what we want to do is we want to grind our relief on the side. We want to grind it like this with an angle, like so that it's just our tip that is cutting. And again, you want to hold it up so that you grind the back side of it and keep the heel lower than your cutting edge. And you can come in there and grind. Now I don't know how well you're going to see that. I'll just try to spin it slowly. So I got all my reliefs. I got my relief that way. I got my relief that way. I have a relief that way. I have it cutting my relief this way, this way, this way, and that way. So when you get that, you can grind that out right to a sharp point. And one thing you can do, this coarse wheel's not going to do it, but I can, if I wanted a bigger radius, I could start it on there. But you would just freehand it, or if you had a finer wheel, you would just freehand that radius. So it's going to take some steady hands, some good eyes, which I don't have anymore, to do that. In this case, I would just go to the surface grinder, and I would hit, with the fine wheel on there, I can put a nice fine radius by spinning it. But what I can show you is one other thing that you can do. Is if you got some good stones, what you can do is you can get you a nice radius too, just getting the relief in, finishing it up with the stone. It doesn't have to be perfect. I suppose if you want it perfect, you can actually build you a little fixture to get that in whatever shape you want. Anyhow, you can get a nice fine radius and a fine edge. You can actually take some of the roughness out of the cutting edges. Let's see. Again, you want to hit that angle. And that way you can get a nice fine edge. And you want that fine edge right in your cut area, because that's where it's going to do the cutting. All the other stuff is just relief. And like I say, you can use broken center drills. If you got carbide, you'll probably have to have some diamond wheels set up. You can get you can cut a little bit in the carbide with these wheels. It's a little bit harder, not as good. It will generate some heat. That's the other thing that you got to be careful about. You got such a thin edge over here that if your wheel's too fine, you're going to generate some heat. And if this turns red, then you don't even want to use it because you just annealed or drew back your material to where it's too soft to cut. So you got to keep it cool. Might want to keep a cup of water so that you can grind a little bit. If you got a real fine wheel, dip it in there. Keep that cutting edge nice and cool. And you go from there. Now you can take these, and if you wanted to, you can actually build you a nice little fixture and do everything right on the surface grinder under coolant. But to me, I'm so used to doing this, it works fine. But once I get my tip cut, if I'm going to use this in a boring head, I don't like it sticking out that far. All I do is loosen the screw up, readjust that, tighten it down, and you're ready to go. Another thing that you have on there, I'm not grinding any flats on these center drills. I'm not grinding any flats. And that little tiny set screw, believe it or not, will hold that thing really good. It's very strong, very powerful. If you do put a flat on there, you can do that. If you put a flat on your diameter, it will actually be a little bit stronger. Plus, it'll keep all your angles and your relief lined up. By not putting a flat, sometimes if I'm cutting different materials, I can turn this cutting edge and get different results by turning different ways. And so I like to keep them round, just some of the ways that I use these. Anyway, that's this week's video. I hope we covered everything. We just want to thank the viewers when they ask questions and got comments. feel free to let us know what you'd like to see, and we'll try to fit some of the stuff if we can in our videos. And we know that everybody's at a different level of experience. We got those that are just starting in the trade, and maybe some of their questions might seem basic to someone that's advanced, and maybe it might be over the head when those people asking more advanced questions over those that are training. But we're going to try to cover as much of this spectrum, everything in between as we can. So if this is pretty simple for some of you guys that are more advanced, just skim through it and go on. If it's something that you haven't seen, something that's at your level, watch the whole thing and enjoy. We just hope that these videos are a benefit to people. And this week's video, we covered about 3 different topics here, and so we'll catch you next video. Thanks for watching.